Okay. Good evening, everybody. On to tonight's team call. We're going to carry on with the Empowered Success training. So first of all, we have an announcement tonight that the guides are now available. So you've probably all gone on and seen on your doTERRA back office. They're actually underneath product materials at the moment, but there's been a few comments from the leaders that they should be under business tools, so that might be changing. So don't panic if they go from the product section, just go on to the business section and they should be there. So yes, you can now purchase these guides, which is really exciting. Now, the thing that I like about these guides, there's quite a few things, but what they help to do is just to help you go through a step-by-step process. So for yourself as well, so you don't get too overwhelmed and try to do everything in one go, but also especially when you're training somebody new, that you take them through a step-by-step process, and you're not going to give them too much information at the beginning, because that can be quite overwhelming. It also helps you to kind of stay in your heart a bit more. So the guides are your head, so you don't have to worry too much about that part. They take you through the steps and they give you all the kind of head stuff, and then you can kind of just focus on being in your heart, using these oils and sharing them with others. So that's what's really lovely. Now, before we started, so the last couple of weeks we haven't had an oil experience. I didn't know if anyone wanted to share a quick oil experience with us that they've perhaps experienced the last couple of weeks, or they've, when they've sampled somebody, they've had an experience that somebody's had that's a positive experience. So I'm just opening it up to the floor if anyone has an experience they would like to share with us.
I've been using
Hello.
I've been using my oils for my dog who suffers from the fireworks. So a little while ago, I saw a post about using Serenity, Balance, and Lavender.
Yeah.
So I put it in the diffuser, and also I rub that mixture onto her paws, and it seems to have. She's much calmer, without a shadow of a doubt. And she doesn't like the fireworks, but she doesn't get completely, panty and completely stressed, and so that's really good.
That's wonderful. That is really lovely, because it's a horrible time of year for animals.
It is really bad.
Yeah.
And then with other pets, I've used wild orange on a horse that was depressed and a pig.
It's a pig. I love it. And what did you do to the pig? Just pat it on the pig's...
Well, exactly what you do, because I'm very much into Caroline Ingram's methodology, which is about letting an animal smell the oil, choose the oil.
Yes.
So I had a combination, because it was we were told by the owner that the pig was quite depressed and was not really joining in with any other animals, and had gone would keep himself to himself, and etc. All the things that a person would do. I know this is a bit weird, but so I knew that perhaps wild orange would work, because I knew it worked on the horse, and it did. And like a horse, animals, it's so funny to watch, but they, first of all, you see their eyes, they're much more expressive than a human. First of all, their eyes get almost turned on, so they become alert. And then you see a quiver that goes through their body, and then almost a smile. I mean, it's bizarre to watch. I know, it's crazy.
That's amazing. And what do you do with them? What, you just let them smell it or lick it?
Smell it, and then they want to eat your whole hand.
That's amazing. I love that. It's lovely to hear an animal experience.
I do, and that's really what got me into doTERRA initially, was because I could use the oils with animals and they could digest them. That's what's really got me into it.
That's wonderful. I love that aspect as well. It's so incredible that we've got this medicine that not only we can use for so many different things, but it's like we can use them for all types of animals.
Definitely. And I have a tortoise, and he got his one of his feet, his claws, I don't know what he did, but anyway, he was pulling it one day. So I rubbed a tiny bit of a deep blue on, thinking it was more muscular.
Yeah.
Anyway, he slept them for 2 days, and I got quite worried. But
Yeah.
then he's fine. You know, after that, he was fine.
Oh my goodness. Amazing. So on tortoise, this is lovely. Oh, a little bit of a veterinary Dr. Dolittle. So for all those animal lovers.
That's just because we're always hearing about people, aren't we?
We are. Too much people. We need some animals. That's brilliant. No, that's wonderful. We just had a comment saying that's so useful to hear about animals, and that's great. And lady will be sharing it with her animal lover friends. So that would be really helpful. So thank you so much for sharing, Shana.
My pleasure.
Okay, fantastic. So thank you so much for all the experience. So today we're going to be focusing on the share guide, which I'm actually, for all the guides, this is the guide, I think, I love them all, but actually this is one that's kind of, I think, the biggest change to perhaps what we may have taught before. So I'm quite excited to share it, and hopefully you'll get what I'm saying when I share it. So I see Lindsay's on, so fantastic, Linz, thank you. So Lindsay's sharing. So the share guide, something I want to make clear, so this might not be completely obvious, which is why it's good to definitely also listen to Natalie Goddard's video on doTERRA.com. Natalie Goddard is double diamond. She's one of the first business people in doTERRA. She's one of the people that helped to create these guides. And when I first looked at the share guide, I assumed it was going to be a guide to teach you how to help someone to host a class. And perhaps if someone in a class said they wanted to host, or if you met someone at a show and they said they wanted to host a class, this is what I was thinking. Because in the past, the share guide has always been that kind of a tool. But actually, when I was looking through it, I was thinking, this isn't that type of guide. And so it was lovely to be able to watch Natalie Goddard and for her to explain what it's for, to confirm how I was thinking, that I would want to use it. So as it says up here, the share guide is actually the soft launch guide. So it is not, and I'm going to make this really clear, this is definitely not a guide that you would want to give somebody if they said to you, oh, I'll host a class for you, a friend or someone at a class just says they're going to host a class. Please don't give them this share guide. It's far too much information and will be completely overwhelming to them. So this is actually a soft launch. So it's great for somebody that comes into this business and says, they want to be a sharer. So they just want to pay for their own oils. That's kind of what we would call a sharer. Or somebody that wants to do the business. So either way, you want to use the share guide first. First, another way you use why it's so good to be able to use is because you can also help to filter your committed and capable. So whereas before, perhaps you might have gone straight into the launch with a new builder and said, right, let's get your 4 classes set and start training them all aspects of the business. What the share guide does is it helps to break down the next step and take people through the process of, first of all, learning the steps of sharing. So you can just go to the next page, Linz. I think. I'm not sure. Yeah, okay. So do you know what, Linz? I might share the PDF because I don't think this has all the slides on it, does it? Is this just the one with 4 slides on the share guide? So my internet is down. I'm just using so I wasn't able to access the PowerPoint. I think this is just, yeah, is this on? Yeah, I think we'll use the PDF, Linz. I've got the PDF on my computer. So if you stop sharing, sorry, Linz, I'm going to get my PDF up because that doesn't have all the pages in. Thanks. Here we go. I'm going to share this. So hopefully you can see this one here. So yeah, it did have that page in first, didn't it? Yeah. So what was I saying? Let me just go back. So it's the pre-launch guide. And so even for a super fast builder, so even somebody that comes in and says, I want to do the business and I want to get to, Premier in 2 months. If someone says that to me, then I would still want to use the share guide to help them build up to their first class. So that's what the share guide does. It teaches people how to share effectively, how to invite people to classes, and how to effectively get ready for your first class. And so rather than giving them all the information in one go, that's the information you want to focus on at the beginning, is sharing with people how to basically sample people or just teach them about the oils, whichever way you want to do it. And we'll cover some of those things in a second. So basically, the reason why, we really want to focus on this is because a massive part of the business is sharing. And so if you can teach somebody the steps of sharing and help people to really, get the most out of that, if you like, and understand how to do that effectively, and that is a huge part of the business. So you really want to spend some time focusing on these small steps. And also what happens is, as you teach people to do this effectively, and as your new builders and yourself are doing this and really practicing these techniques, then it helps to also build belief in yourself with doing this business. And as you know, also in this whole the belief of being able to make this into a business as well. So it gives people belief in this as a business too. So it's a really good thing to be able to focus on. So the first page here is helping people to see, and think, why do they want to share doTERRA? So for someone that's a sharer, might just want to, empower others and, earn some rewards as well. But for a builder, they're going to be wanting to create their own income. So whoever it is, they can use the share guide. So it's just helping them to get ready for their first class. So the first page here then is just helping them to write that initial list. And so, you've seen lists before, but this is just a really simple list for them to just write down the names of people that they think can benefit from these essential oils, and then to decide, would they benefit more from a one-on-one or would they benefit more from a class? So it's helping people to start thinking already that some people might be more suited to a one-on-one, and that could be the guests that you're inviting, or it could also be your new builder or yourself. You might be the kind of person that wants to do one-on-ones to begin with. And so that's absolutely fine. And again, you're taking yourself through these gentle steps, or you can go through them very quickly, but to help build belief in yourself, to take you to the next steps of this business. And that's what this is all about. Okay. And then the next part is teaching them how to invite. So when you're training a builder, you take them through the share guide, and this is really the part you want to focus on. And in the guide, they have some good examples here, but I'm going to pass this over to Lindsay. You can unmute yourself, Lindsay. You can perhaps share in English as well, so not just American, what you say.
Yeah, it's true. So these are the three of the steps to make your class invitation the most effective. And so this is what you're sharing with them, but this is what I would share with them, is to encourage them to share their experience. This is the same for all of us as builders, but also as slower or faster builders, as Becky said, that this is for getting started as a builder as well. So you want to be sharing your own experiences in a very, very low-key way. I would definitely say most of the time I don't share my experiences straight away or even at all until I'm asked about it. Or there's a diffuser on in the background, or I'll just offer some oil in their water because I'd never have anything in to offer as a drink other than water and oils. So when I have a play date, I'll go, oh, would you like a drink? Water with oils? And that's one of the ways, actually, I have found that this is just very natural. This is what we drink. So we don't really have many other things in our cupboards. So it makes it very natural that you're sharing that experience. Oh, well, why would you do that? And then that question comes up very quickly. And so then you move on to, actually, we've been using oils for so many different things. And we use them, it's now our medicines. This is what we use for medicine, actually. So do you use anything, like, are you into natural remedies? Do you use any natural remedies at all? And either they say yes or they say no, I've never used essential oils, or I've never used natural remedies before. Or, you know, would you like to try some? And so it's completely natural. And if you picture yourself in that scenario, chatting to a friend about what's going on with them, and then that little opportunity, I haven't done anything. All I've done is, you know, have my diffuser on or just had some oil in my water. And then it's very natural that that's then moved on to sharing the experience. And so I think that's one of the biggest things. I would say it needs to be natural and genuine. And then that will feel totally fine for them and for you. When I say natural and genuine, that doesn't necessarily always mean comfortable. So it still means put yourself slightly out of your comfort zone and create opportunities to talk about the oils, but always in a genuine way. So please don't get me wrong to just not talk about them, because it doesn't feel like it's easy. I didn't say easy. And so that's just creating little hooks. So I never say, I'm just curious, but I do often just ask them about them. You just talk about them. Actually, it's one of the things that Daniel's always said to me, that people love talking about themselves. It's their favourite topic. And if you get them to talk about themselves, then they'll come away thinking, she was so nice. It's amazing, actually. So Daniel used to do this all the time when he was an estate agent, and people loved him because all he did was got them to talk about themselves. So get them talking about what's going on with their family, their, you know, their work, their health, their concerns, whatever it might be. And then things come up, and actually you can easily offer them a solution. And that's where then you're giving them an opportunity to try something with a sample. I love when it says get permission. So in black, it's telling you here what the point is of each of these questions. So you're sharing your experience very briefly. You're asking permission to give them a sample by saying, well, you know, if you'd like, you could try something if you'd like to. And then you're getting their permission to follow up by asking them, you know, I'd love to hear something like this. I usually say, I'd love to see how you get on with it. Is it all right if I give you a call, or just find out how you're getting on in a couple of days? Every time, yeah, of course, that's fine. Because why would you not want someone to care about you and about what impact it's had? So that's with the sharing your experience. I would definitely practice, particularly if it's something big, if it's affected your health in a big way, practice keeping that brief. I sometimes find that tricky because of the big impact it's had on me, that keeping it brief is actually sometimes quite hard. So I need to find another way. So you need to give a context, but without taking like 20 minutes, by which point they're kind of done. They don't really want to talk about oils anymore. And so then after they've had their sample, then you're able to then invite them along to come to the class. Are you open to finding out more? Or, you know, they say, oh, that was so good, my headache was gone. Oh, well, actually I teach classes if you'd like to come and find out what else they can do, or what other ways you can use that. And again, it's a natural progression. And in the back of your mind, think about the fact that actually this is the only way that you can empower them, is by inviting them to a class. Otherwise, you're just solving a tiny little drop in their ocean of needs. So you want to give them the power to take care of that themselves. And that's what you're doing when you're inviting them along to a class. Now that class can be all sorts of formats. And this is one of the benefits of doing doTERRA, is that it's so many different formats. So you might be doing it live or online or in a one-to-one. You might be doing it with someone or on your own, with a child, with, you know, baby feeding at the same time. Anything that this looks like for you, that can be perfect for them as well. So would you like to come along to a class? Often if I've spoken to them about it, then sometimes I'll send that in a text with, you know, would you like to come along to a class? I know you were interested in finding out about the oils. So often I've had these conversations over time. I know you were interested in finding out about what more these oils could do. I actually have a class next week on Tuesday. Would you like to come along? And then wait for a response. And that's sometimes the time where you're kind of, what's going to happen, especially if they're your friends. But actually, it's a very simple question. If they can't make it, then they'll say no. So at that point, you're then just waiting for them to respond. Get permission to remind. Is it all right? I know I get really busy and I forget. Is it all right if I send you a message or give you a call a couple of days before, just to remind you? I certainly would appreciate that myself. I wish someone would remind me of everything I needed to do. I have to leave that to Daniel. So the mass emails, and this is definitely something I would warn against, is setting up a Facebook event and inviting 150 people, and then you say, right, done, I've invited everyone, I'm just going to sit back and wait for everyone to say yes, and they'll all come, and I'm going to have a great class of 10 people. That hasn't been very effective in my experience. Maybe some of you have done this differently, but I would definitely say I use Facebook invitations or event invitations as a hook for another conversation. And I found that's by far the most effective way for that invitation to actually work. If I just send the invitation, then very rarely does that turn into anything. I know myself that I miss event invitations all the time. And so I know that my friends do as well. So that's one thing I would say. And then just when they're coming to the class, it's just showing them that actually remind them to come. And just by saying, a very good idea is to give them a call 2 days before. It's one of my favourite things to do actually before a class, and this was Becky who shared this with me. Even if it's a hosted class, or whether I know the people or not, I'll call them 2 days before where possible, and just ask them, is there anything specific you would like us to cover in the class? Or is there any specific ailment that you're interested in finding out a natural solutions for? And I find that's been twofold. One of them is committing them to be there because they know this is about them. Two, you're also planting that seed that these are going to be able to resolve that health concern for you. So without even saying that this can resolve that health concern, me asking them really does plant that seed. The third reason actually is that we're establishing a relationship. I'm now a person, they are a person to me, and so they don't feel like you're a faceless person that they don't need to bother. You're actually a person that they don't want to let down. And I find that's had a really big impact actually, particularly for classes where I didn't know them. So now we've become real people to each other because we've spoken on the phone. Then 2 hours before, it's a really good idea to send them a text. It might be just to say, hey, I'm really excited to see you, or, you know, there's space on the street across the road to park, or you can park on the driveway, I've tucked my car in, whatever it might be. I've made some chocolate. I hope you like chocolate. Who doesn't? But something to say, I've got a surprise, or I've got a treat, or something like that. I don't really like the word surprise. I prefer the word treat. But it's just something, an extra hook that will get them excited. Oh, I was thinking about, I'm feeling a bit tired, but you know, she's got something special for me, so I'm going to go anyway. So it's just little things that allow people to be encouraged. We all know how it feels at the end of the day, and you kind of collapse on the sofa. You've managed to get children to sleep. It's a miracle you survived that long, and you haven't fallen asleep with them. And then you think, it's tonight. I have to go back out again. So it's just giving them that extra incentive to do that. When you're then talking about the business, this is actually something my husband's really good at this part, but also just having creating that opportunity to say, this is another way of earning money. And often I get asked, how do you even make money with this? And I love that question. Because it's true, it almost is unbelievable. And especially when they say, can I buy some oils from you? I say, no, I actually don't have any stock. And they look at me like, so this is about showing them that this is another way of earning money, and good money at that. This is supporting a family income, and way beyond that. But it's just mostly this is about your relationship with that person, so that then when the time is right, whether you ask them or not, they'll be watching and paying attention to what's going on for you and your family, and then they will more than likely ask you. But if you're just asking, would you be interested in other ways of like supplementing your income? I've usually planted seeds with just little comments and then waited for them to ask me. I tend to do that rather than asking this direct question, are you open to additional ways of creating an income? But do be prepared to just share what your vision is for your income, not in a number, because that's not necessarily an exciting thing for people, but what your vision is, what you actually, in a very brief way, what you're actually doing this for and what you're creating for you and your family. Because I love hearing all the different trainings we've been to. I love hearing why people start doing doTERRA and what their vision is. Just makes me kind of glow to be around these people with such vision. I find it really inspiring, and so people do the same for you as well. So that's why you want to have it as a brief nugget. What is your vision? And actually in this guide, I love that this actually takes you through that. The next part of this is again, it's creating that appointment, getting specific times in the diary to be able to actually share that business opportunity, whether it's at the end of a class or just setting it up. With a friend of mine, we're actually trying to still find an appointment to be able to talk about the business, but it's just setting up that time to talk about the business. I'll come back to this one. Would you mind just going to the share your story? Sorry, Bex, what did you say?
Totally. Yeah, I was just going to say that, often when you're training builders, and for the most of the builders that I've trained, are just focusing on getting people to a class. First of all, they're not so much focusing on sharing the business at the beginning. But what this share guide does, like all these tools are designed to do, is for us to use them as we want to. So it's great because it's not one way fits all with any of this stuff, and so you can utilize them how you want to. So some builders that you bring on, for example, they might have people in mind straight away, and they might actually want to, they might be really passionate about this business and want to dive right into sharing the business with others. So that's why it has that in the share guide. So it's basically, the share guide is a tool to use to help people to learn how to share, whether it's the products, which Lindsay explained really, really well, and the business, which she also explained really well. So you can just, adapt it to the needs of your person.
Actually, my recommendation with that also, it says it on there as well, is that actually I love doing the 3-way calls. And we've done this so many times with Rebecca and Nathan, but now we're really enjoying doing it with our team, is actually that once you've had someone express an interest in the business and say, actually this, I'd quite like to do this, then you do a 3-way call with your upline. And it's been amazing because we can ask more direct questions than maybe the person you've got in front of you. And so it just allows that removed person to ask all these quite probing questions without any sort of discomfort within that relationship, if that makes sense. So that's the part that I really liked, is that I got the information and I got to delve deeper into their vision for that person without maybe feeling like these questions are a little bit uncomfortable for someone who's so close to me or who I've established that relationship with. So definitely do use your upline in that way for the 3-way calls for that business intro as well. And actually at this point, using the share guide is probably the perfect time for that. So it's often when people have maybe hosted a class, and that they've maybe started, then you'd want to have that conversation about actually how far and how fast you want to go. And that's where the 3-way call really comes into its own. So this is and in this share guide, it kind of guides you through scaffolding to be able to share your story, and in a very succinct way. So you want to be able to, if you've written this down, usually that helps you to organize your thoughts. So, what led you to doTERRA? What were your frustrations that were going on in your health or in your family? And then positive experiences with your oils or other products, or whatever it might be that really resonates for you, or that you think will resonate for the person in front of you. If I've got a man in front of me, I probably won't talk about my issues with my pelvis from pregnancy. I'll talk about maybe something else. So you'll kind of cater with the person in front of you. And then how have doTERRA products changed your life? Now, I would just a caution with this is what you don't want is for people to feel like you're suddenly standing on your soapbox testifying about doTERRA to them when you're midway through a conversation. And I think that can really turn someone off and be like, "Wow, here she goes." And I've seen that happening before, and you can gauging the person's reaction. So really can't emphasize enough like that brief, and then move on. And actually, I make a point of maybe talk about the oils, and then what did you get up to over the weekend, or have you got any plans for whatever? And so taking it away again, and then more often than not, if they do want to know, they'll bring it back. And so that's been really helpful to do that as well. So that makes you feel comfortable. If you could just go back, sorry, Bex, to the other one. This is the more practical side of it, which actually we've just been doing with some of our new builders. So, so this is about sharing and how you actually are sharing the oils. So often by sharing your story, people want to get an oil or experience something. But mostly, and this is probably what I do the most of, is sharing an oil experience, whether it's on their hands and their water in chocolate, whatever it might be. Then you get them to share, to have something, experience something. Then they have a sample, and then you can then go beyond. One of the things, where and when to share, absolutely everywhere and anytime, which is why you always want to have your samples with you. Now, I don't carry the toothpaste on me, but I do carry my little sample case, which actually is looking quite empty because a lot of them have now gone out to other people. But have your samples in your handbag, your man bag, whatever it might be, in your car, the things that you need to be able to share with you, so that if you have them with you, then you're way more likely to be able to get that opportunity to. Equally, it's so nice. Oh, what's happened there? Bex?
The green writing.
Oh, no. Oh, no, is it me? I must have just, my screen has gone to something else.
It's still showing here.
It's still there. Yeah, perfect. I just went to something else. So yeah, just having your samples with you is probably the best bit of advice. Equally, having your keychain. The other thing I would say is have your keychain, which you might fill the bottles all the way to the top because you want your oils to last for you, and maybe have another keychain that's filled to like a sample. So having your kind of 10 to 15 drops in your sample vials, because you'll be happier to give them away. I mean, it doesn't mean that you won't give your full ones away, but you might not want to give a full bottle of frankincense if you're wanting to give someone frankincense. So just having small ones as well, and maybe multiples, I find that quite helpful. Actually, the different ways, again, going back to the different ways of sharing the oils and teaching classes or one-to-ones, I highly recommend. I don't know if Ali's on here actually. I had a lovely experience teaching my first class in Australia last week. I did not go to Australia. That would have been amazing, but also really difficult logistically. So I wouldn't have been able to do that. And actually what was really lovely, and I would highly recommend if you have people far, far away, they just got together. It was Ali's sister, got everyone together at her house. They were having their own little party, and then we were just there on the screen, sharing and teaching the class. And the atmosphere was brilliant. So online classes are great for convenience, but that was by far my preferred option, and it was really, really effective. I was sending samples beforehand as well, was really nice, so they had something to smell. So just as an extra tip, that's a nice way to do it. So this Healthy Can Be Simple guide is a really nice way to give little other snippets. So if they've had a sample of, say, lavender to help them to get to sleep, giving them a Healthy Can Be Simple guide, I find just opens them up to other ways and other oils that might be able to help. So I really like that. I don't typically give one with every sample because sometimes it just feels too formal and too much of just going a bit too far for that person. So I might sometimes save that for afterwards, after they've had their oil. Actually, This is just so that you can see other ways that you could use the sample that you have. But that's one of the other tools that I think is really, really nice. You can send it as a PDF as well, which is available on the website. So you could just do that as well. Sorry, Beck.
Great idea. No, sorry. I was going to say it's a great thing to just have kind of lying around your house, like somewhere that's not obvious that you've planted it, but just somewhere so that people can look at that as well, because it kind of does the preaching for you. I've done that many times. People just pick it up and go, oh, what's this? And I go, oh yeah, it's just tells you a few ways to use essential oils. And they just look at it, and then they'll have questions, which I like, then it comes from them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I agree with you. I wouldn't give it to everybody, because also sampling is part of qualifying people as well, isn't it? You're qualifying people all the time, and some people won't even use the sample, let's face it, and so I wouldn't want to give them a booklet that's going to cost me money as well. So I'd have it at class through that one. But yeah, I agree with you. But the PDF, that is brilliant. And actually that's one way of sharing as well with people, isn't it? Again, like sometimes I haven't given samples, just sometimes it hasn't been the right thing to do with some people. But if I have given samples, I often will send them something online to look at as well, because that's just adds more credibility to it, I think. And again, not just me talking at them. And some people won't look at the information, but some people will. So it's about trying quite a few different things, and everyone you're sampling is different, and they respond to different things, don't they, sometimes as well.
Yeah, definitely. Then on the next part of it, it just has a few practical tips, just in terms of the nitty gritty of it. But I love there's a lovely sampling flow chart that I know that Beck's going to share it. I'm sure it's on the Silver Blossom page already. That I find really helpful to be able to then just follow through about, giving them a sample. Did they have a positive experience? Yes. So then do this. If they no, then do this. So I find that's a really nice way to then just follow on with your sampling as to what to do next. So definitely I've had before, and I remember discussing this with Bex at the beginning, a sample didn't work, and you get this flushed feeling, oh my gosh, he's going to think I'm a fraud, that the oils don't work, oh my goodness, back away. And then actually, and I did really panic at that point before, but actually now it's much less of a panic, because it's okay. Most of the time they haven't used it correctly, or they haven't used it enough, and that's why it didn't work. And I know that because I know that they work. So it's just exploring a little bit more about what happened, and just a few questions, and not in a well, surely that must have been that you didn't do it right. That's definitely not what we're saying. Just saying, how did you use it, and what did you do with it? Can you just tell me how you used it? And then you'll explore how many drops they used, and then you'll repeat that back to them, allows them to clarify. And often just by saying it back to them allows them to see that actually that's ridiculous to use one drop for like stomach cramping or constipation or diarrhea they've been having for days, and use one drop and you think that's going to go. Often you might need to do it a little bit more than that, so they can then see it for themselves as well. So I find that's really helpful to just ask questions and then say, well, maybe let's try just increasing the number of drops and doing it every 2 hours, because that tends to be how long it stays in your system for. So just having a few extra guides and then checking in the next day. So that's one of the things I definitely I used to be quite scared of. And I know Bex is the same.
yeah, I definitely was. And sometimes again, sometimes even if they try it again and they might respond that, it worked, or they might not be jumping up and down about it. Sometimes people have experiences, don't they, when they're like, that was amazing, and that is great, that is just fab, isn't it? But quite often it's more, it helped. So what I do in those situations is kind of jump on it a bit and go, oh, amazing, great. She's had a little experience, and so almost you're helping them to realize that you're not expecting them to have this incredible experience. Sometimes you do have one sample, but it's quite rare. The point of a sample is to help them just see that it does something. So jump on that and go, oh, that's great that you've been able to experience just a little bit of what the essential oils can do. Obviously you can't get tons from just one sample, so come to a class, and that's where you'll learn really the extent of what these essential oils can do for you. that's kind of helps lead into the fact that they need to come to a class to learn more. I often use it as that, you know, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard. It definitely is. That sampling, man, I think that's one of the hardest things at the beginning. And in a way, it's easy and lovely because it's just about giving people free gifts and something you're really passionate about. And that's why it's important, as Lynn says, to know they work. And then your confidence in that grows so much. But it is putting yourself out there. But it's just something, the more you do, you just build belief in it and you get better and better at it. And then sometimes you'll start recognizing experiences later on where sometimes you think there's no need to give a sample here. You know, so at the beginning of the business, I do recommend sampling lots because you learn so much from sampling. And then you get to like cool it later on, where some people you might just want to give a peppermint experience there on the spot or a drink of lemon, and that will be enough. And others you'll see will be people that you really want to give samples to. So it's just about getting them to the class really, and making them, you know, feel that these oils have something to give them. That's the whole purpose of it.
And equally for like online classes and things like that, I think by far the best way for them to even be ready to take that step and take the leap of getting oils for themselves, I find having, even just if it's a wild orange and peppermint, sometimes there's no time between them saying they want to come to a class, what's one for your ailments, and then sending them the sample and getting all that feedback. Sometimes the turnaround is too short. So just having a wild orange and peppermint for them to be able to experience when you're talking about the things in the class is really lovely and makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. It does. That's a really good tip. Anything else you wanted to say, Linz, before I go on to this?
No, I think that's me all done.
Perfect, Lindsay. Thank you so much for that, and feel free obviously to input more as and when you want to. So that's kind of what the share guide is teaching you as your own business, but also helping you to know what to focus on when you're trying to train someone else to build the business. It's helping them get those people to the classes, getting them to those one-on-ones, and that's how you do it, is by sharing and inviting successfully and reminding, as what Lindsay just all went through. So then it just kind of goes through again what you, if you're training yourself or if you're training someone else, what they need to do, just the simple steps. So again, not overwhelming, but what is the preparation they need to do to prepare themselves for their one-on-one, if that's what they decide is more appropriate for their person, or the class. So really it's just kind of taking them through those steps. So you can, read this here, but it's kind of making sure that they know the presenter. So that's usually their upline. So just making sure they, you have that relationship, and so they can introduce you. And then it gives some tips of when to, do their class and how many people to invite. Talks about creating the atmosphere. So just simple. What I love about this, it's just not overwhelming. So you're just helping them to focus on these simple things to help them do a class. And then once you see a potential builder, someone says they want to build, has done the class, they get to see what the business is so much more. And yes, by the time they're doing their own class, the steps basically are that they themselves have gone to a class. They have seen a class before. They would have had a wellness consultation by this point. And then after that, they would have had, if they've said they want to do the business to any level, that's when you would do the build guide with them, which is what Lindsay's going to take us through next week. So that's the kind of order. It's come to a class, have the wellness consultation, they'll be taken through the build guide, which presents to them the different options. And then once they've seen the options, they decide they want to do the business. This is then how they get to really experience what the business is, rather than teaching them and telling them. It's about holding their hand and taking them through this journey of getting them ready for their first class. And that's what I really like about this soft kind of launch, this soft approach. So just telling them the simple things they need to have. Water, a few simple refreshments. Do you want to say something, Lynn?
No, I love that. Actually, often when people are hosting a class, they say, well, what do we need to do? And sometimes it's a little bit nerve-wracking. That's fine, just glasses and a jug of water. I'll bring everything else.
Yes.
And actually for someone who's more so for someone who's starting off as the business, because they feel like they need to do more. And I think that really takes away the anxiety. So for a host who's hosting a class, they don't feel that anxious. This doesn't mean a huge amount to them. But someone who's starting off in the business, and we all know that actually that first class you're like, oh. So just water and some glasses, definitely, and then everything else.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would even, as the upline, and this is something maybe a bit more personal, but I would take all the handouts that first time for them. So like, so simple, because they're already nervous about their friends coming. It's big steps for them. It's still, even though we're taking them through the step-by-step simple process, it's still a lot to take in. So yeah, just make it so simple. Bring pens for them. You can bring pens and the paperwork. They just supply the water. Great. And then this just takes them, so just a good summary of when you're teaching them how to get people to the class, just so they can see clearly the steps that Lindsay just went through. And then showing people often ask, when should I do the wellness consultation? And this just gives that time guide as well within the 14-day period. Okay. So just giving them a summary again of what their part is.
Just before you do that, just to highlight on that timeline thing, it says day 12 to day 14 for the lifestyle overview. I know it seems like a stupid thing to highlight, but that's 2 to 4 days after they've been to the class and enrolled. So, because otherwise you're going to really put a spanner in your works, because you won't have any time to then move them around. So just to highlight.
Yeah.
The first time I looked at it, I was like, well, that's not helpful to be day 12 or 14. Maybe I was just being a bit silly, but yeah, it's only 2 or 4 days after they've enrolled.
No, really good point. And in England, you want to give them time to be able to get their kit. So I'd probably say more 4 days. Most people don't get their kit till then, but absolutely right. And you want to, so 4 days within that first week is the absolute ideal, because you want to be able to assess, what kind of person they are and where you're going to put them in your tree. And again, if you're training a builder, then your new builder doesn't want to be thinking about where to place people. That's kind of your role as an upline to help them with that. So that's something you definitely want to do, is help them place their people. So what is their part? So you just help them teach, what is their part? So they've kind of already, gone through this really, but they're just going to do the introductions. Basically, they're going to have their story prepared. That's why there's a section to write down their story. And as Lynn said, it's great to kind of write it down, just so it's in your head. You're not going to read it from that piece of paper, but getting it on paper and then practicing it a bit, so it sounds, powerful and exciting for people to listen to, but doesn't go on and on and on. Because although you'll find it so interesting, you lose the interest of others if it goes on and on. And remember, they've got a whole class to listen to, so you want to help your new builder to be able to do a brief, as it says here, 2-minute personal experience. And then they're going to invite the presenter to come and take over, basically. And if they're going to be teaching, and they're teaching. So, and then that person's role is also then to just help go round and just help speak to people at the end of the class as well. So your new builder can help do that, and you'll be doing that too. But that's all they're going to do, is just help answer questions and help them decide which kit is best for them. So again, it's just a non-pressure way they can just learn on the job, really. So that's the whole point of this first class. And I like this as well, following up with people at the class. So, that's why the feedback forms are really important, in case you don't already have their class details. But it's about teaching your new builder and making sure that you're doing the same. It's getting everyone's contact details at the class, and you'd have built up a relationship at the class. Again, all of this is about relationships. So continue that natural relationship with people, so that, you can say to them, well, look, we haven't had a chance to chat tons tonight. I'll give you a call in a couple of days and I can answer any questions that you might have. So anyone that doesn't enroll is expecting that a follow-up call or a text, some kind of natural follow-up that doesn't feel like you're trying to sell to them. But there's some kind of follow-up. I mean, sometimes what I do is I offer people at a class to have a free consultation, especially if I've had a really like a high attendance class where I really haven't had time to get round to everybody. I say, for everyone that's come to this class, some of you already know what you want to order, and that's great. And I've spoken to you, and if you do order tonight, you get to take away this free gift. But some of you may have some more questions, so let's book in a time when I can call you. So that, you know, there's different ways of doing it. Or some of you will have Facebook groups that you'll definitely invite them to, so you're not losing anybody. And it's good to teach this to a new builder at the beginning of a business as well. So they're learning to get all their contacts, and they probably won't have a Facebook group quite there and then yet, and that's absolutely fine. We've only just got ours, so you can do it without that. But some people are really on that. But it is a good way of keeping people in the loop and not losing any contacts, and just drip feeding. So just training people to keep their contacts at least. So just setting up an Excel spreadsheet so they can record any names and emails and telephone numbers of people that have come to a class and haven't purchased. Because these are also people you can send emails to later on when you're doing a special offer one month, or when the Christmas offers come about. So you've always got them as contacts. So that's really important, I think, the follow-up support. Anything you want to say, Linz? I'll move up.
Yeah, that's the one of the things actually with the feedback and the going back to them is just having a system for all of the people who have ever been to a class. I think it's something I didn't do to start off with, and now it's something that we're trying to catch up on. And so having somewhere where they go, so then it's easier when you're trying to then, when there's a special offer on and you've had people who loved it. And most of my feedback forms say, you know, learned something new, was really interesting, definitely, you know, all of those kind of things. And it's really positive most of the time. So actually I know they've enjoyed and they've learned something. So actually going back to them when there is something going on as a special offer, that's a really nice way to do it. Whereas if I've got no system for my feedback forms, it's much harder for me to then try and find them.
Yeah.
So just create, whether it's a spreadsheet or a pile or a drawer or a folder, whatever it might be, I just do that as soon as possible.
Absolutely, I agree.
And a separate one for people who said hosting a class.
Yeah.
Or the business. So yeah, that would be my 2 recommendations.
Excellent. So true. And then this last page of the share guide is just bringing them back to a few more technicalities of the business, a bit of the compensation plan, but again, not blasting them with tons of business information, just helping them to see what they need to know right now, which is that any person that enrolls at the class, they'll make 20%. And then just reminding them when they find someone else who wants to do the business, that they'll make 10% and 5%. And that's one of the, you know, the quickest ways of earning money with doTERRA, and how they'll first start to make money with doTERRA. And then helping them to focus on 3 people that they want to be finding to do the business as well. So those are the kind of, you know, just very simply put, the things that they should be focusing on when they first start doing the business. Okay, so we're going to stop sharing now. So hopefully that's given you some insight into how to use the share guide. And again, we just emphasize that as we go through these guides, and we'll go through the build guide next week and then the launch guide, once you've kind of understood how to use each of these guides, then you really can just pull on them whenever you need them. So it doesn't have to be done in this exact system, but this is generally the system that you would use it for. And the share guide is, as we said, just a great way of helping someone break into the business softly, so it keeps them excited, and it gets them to put into action the business soon, rather than, you know, sometimes in the past when I've trained builders, you can get caught in the trap of lots of theory for ages and actually not getting out and doing it. Whereas the share guide helps you to just kind of, right, you want to do the business, let's set up one class, you know, let's get you to do, I'll come and do everything. You don't have to think about the class, but I'm going to teach you how to get people to a class. Mm-hmm. And that's just getting them out there and doing it. And like we said, as well as helping get them into the business, that really is a great tester. You don't need to let them know you're testing them. It's not obvious that you're testing them, but it's a really good way for you to see, okay, what kind of person is this? What kind of builder is this person? And so, you know, especially if now we've got this whole wholesale customer sign up thing, if they're a wholesale customer, then I would, you know, this is a great way to test them before you upgrade them to an advocate, so then you can move them after they've done their first class. Or perhaps you won't even have signed them up yet, and so that's also a great way. Someone's come to a class, they've said they want to do the business, and there's that way as well. That way you'd have to give them some oils to sample people with, but I'm just sharing with you there are different ways of doing this, so you can really test them, and then you can place them after they've done their first class. If you've already placed them, so say they were signed up as a wellness advocate and so you can't move them anymore, then that's still good, so don't worry about that. You're still wanting to test them to see how much energy you're going to give them and how much support they need, and helps you to know how to best support them as well. So it's just a really good way of bringing them into the business and helping with all those things as well. So any questions at all? Where to buy the Healthy Can Be Simple guide? I think I saw that on the back office. Is that on the back office? Is it on there, Lynn?
Coming up as an order.
Okay. So it's not available yet. So it will be coming. The Healthy Can Be Simple guide is coming. So we're going to start seeing, because the Natural Solutions class isn't out yet either, is it? The last time I checked. But we can go on to doTERRA every day and see what the
box is. So that's it, yeah.
That's the box, yeah. So the PDF, as Lynn said, is available online, so you can email it to people, but we're still waiting for that to be approved for the European market. So any questions? Oh yes, did anyone, Lindsay, actually, did you guys create a PowerPoint for Natural Solutions class?
Yes I did, yeah.
Amazing. I was thinking you had. Post it onto I think I remember you saying, I was like, I'm sure someone said to me they've done it.
I'm not proud of it. It's just a very basic, but it does the job.
Amazing. Well, your basic will be my tricky, so we'll take it.
Literally copy and pasted from the PDF, so actually it literally just follows the PDF.
Brilliant. Cool.
Yeah.
And in time we'll do a better one. I think Becky's working on one as well, and we will. We're just in the middle of moving house at the moment. It's a bit
yeah, I know, I can't believe you're doing this.
Anyway, boxes
literally today, if anyone thinks that this is moving house over time, Becky was moving house today.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll post it into the group. Also, our internet is really poor, so if you don't see it for another 4 hours, it's not because I'm not doing it, it's because our internet's really poor. So I'll post it.
Cool. Thanks so much, Lynn. That's really lovely of you. Cool. Any questions? Any comments?
Actually, one thing to just say, the guides, the Live, Share, Build guides are available on our back office as a 10-pack or as an individual, but the Healthy Can Be Simple isn't. I've just gone back on there to see.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to be on there.
Yeah.
But things are.
It will be coming. It will be coming soon. Cool. So I do recommend going to doTERRA.com, not the UK one, but doTERRA.com under Empowered Success, and watching Natalie Goddard talk about the share guide as well, and getting some share guides, and then you can look through it yourself and see how you're going to utilize it. But fab. So next week, Lindsay will be talking about the build guide. So that'll be wonderful. We'll be able to buy guides at Builders Day. I doubt it. I doubt they'll have them there. I doubt they will, because now on the back office, it's just easy for us to just buy it from the back office. So I doubt they will have them. There will be the normal stores there. So the essential oil supplies will be there, and they'll be selling their resources, but they won't be selling the doTERRA material. So it's from the back office, the best place. Cool. I'm going to stop recording.